Alright, what's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a great day. Welcome back to the Cardboard Collection Agency, and in today's video we're going to be doing a breakdown of this brand new mono blue mill deck, updated with newer cards since my last one is a bit old now, using a lot of like Amonkhet time cards. So now we are going to do a full breakdown of this deck, and I actually do personally have a question about one of these cards because I am actually a bit iffy specifically on the Merfolk Secret Keeper, but we'll get to that towards the end here. But we're going to start off with the Into the Story here. So first off, we have Into the Story, 2 blue, 5 any color, but it costs 3 less to cast if an opponent has 7 or more cards in their graveyard, and you get to draw 4 cards. Incredibly useful when you're drawing for your answers, like your counter spells, which would be, let's see, we have Didn't Say Please and like Run Away Together, for example. Pretty awesome. And again, just helps me draw the answers when I need them. Most time because my opening draws are pretty solid for the most part, but sometimes I get those iffy ones, but I'll have this Into the Story. And again, it is a mill deck, so of course getting 7 or more cards into their graveyard is pretty darn simple. Especially with, where is it at? We got Drowned Secrets there, which is whenever you cast a blue spell, the target player has to put the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. Same thing with Bond of Insight is insanely helpful, and I will explain more about that when I get to that one. So that's Into the Story. Next we have Vantress Gargoyle, the extended art foil version. Again, most expensive part of the deck, about $5 a piece. I'm actually missing 1 card from this deck, as I mentioned in the last video, that one of them that happened to be out of stock, so I ended up just adding an extra land, which ended up being this foil land here, which I almost want to replace with either a Vantress Gargoyle or a Drowned Secret, since I only have 2 of those. But this card's pretty sweet. 1 blue, 1 of any color, a 5/4 flyer, but it has a couple situations you have to meet here. So for it to be able to attack, defending player has to have 7 or more cards in their graveyard. Again, pretty simple, easy thing to meet. And see, as I mentioned before, Into the Story benefits off that as well. And he can't block unless you have 4 or more cards in hand. That's the one I kind of back and forth run into. I'll end up having 4 cards, and the next thing you know, I'm down to 1 card. And then I'm back to 4 cards again, and it just goes back and forth. But having that 5 flying in the air is definitely really helpful, especially if your mill strategy is slowing down or you just, again, get a bad draw, but you're able to get this out into the field. Very beneficial. And you can tap it to put the top card of the library into the graveyard, which I never really use that very often. Next up, so we're just going to go left to right, top to bottom. Next, we again have Drowned Secrets here. This card is pretty amazing. Again, working with that removal. Again, Run Away Together and Didn't Say Please is what this benefits with. So whenever you cast a blue spell, target player puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. Pretty simplistic, just getting those cards into the graveyard based off using counter spell. Just a nice little added benefit. Next, we're going to move into Wall of Lost Thoughts. Now it's a defender, 0/4, 1 blue for 1. And when it enters the battlefield, target player puts the top 4 cards of the library in the graveyard. Just again, keeping that mill strategy going. And again, a lot of these cards are benefiting from the mill itself. So just another added benefit there. Again, because the Vantress runs off their a certain amount of cards being in their graveyard. Same with Into the Story. So next, we're going to move into Run Away Together. Choose 2 target creatures controlled by different players. So in case you're playing a multiplayer game, return those creatures to their owner's hands. Now, in the case of, I guess, like a 1v1, my best guess is just that they have to return 1 creature, because it says specifically 2 target creatures, but controlled by different players. So like 1 player, 1 creature, 1 player, 1 creature. So I'm assuming under the like a 1v1 situation, it would just be 1 creature. Confirm that form if you do know what that's supposed to mean. Again, in a 1v1 situation, because I'm not 100%. This is pretty amazing right here. Mystic Sanctuary. So simply taps to add a blue, but it enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more islands. So I will basically hold on to this once I meet that 3 or more island requirement, and then I will use this. says when Mystic Sanctuary enters the battlefield untapped, you may put target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to the top of your library. Now, the way I've been using this more than anything is with Into the Story. So basically, I will bounce Into the Story back onto the top of my library when I need cards. So then next turn around, I can cast it again, draw 4 more cards. Pretty sweet. And next here, we have a Bond of Insight. Very helpful. 1 blue, 3 of any color. Each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. Return up to 2 instant or sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. So again, another way to basically bounce Into the Story back to my hand so then I can draw more cards, or I can return something like Runaway Together or Didn't Say Please and give myself more removal, more answers to work with. Insanely helpful. A lot of these are just really good like assistant cards to just get myself, basically, if I'm finding myself falling out of the game, these cards will help me get back into it. Okay, here we have So Tiny, 1 blue. You can flash it in, so you can use it on your turn or your opponent's turn. You can enchant a target creature, and it gets -2/-0. It gets -6/-0 as long as its controller has 7 or more cards in the graveyard. Again, a lot of these cards are running off that 7 or more, but again, with the added benefit and work of all these cards, the meeting that requirement is it's insanely easy. So then most times in the game, I'd say you're guaranteed to get that -6/-0, making those big creatures not so big anymore. Next here we have Didn't Say Please. 2 blue, 1 of any color. Simple, counter target spell, its controller puts the top 3 cards of their library into their graveyard. Simple, yet efficient. Next here we have Overwhelmed Apprentice, kind of like an answer card. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard, and then you scry 2, again, helping you search for answers, or just giving you a little bit of a head start knowing what your next cards are going to be. And it's a 1/2. And next here, and this is where my question comes in, again, Merfolk Secret Keeper, 1 blue. Now, its ability is a sorcery, and it says target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. Now, the reason I'm a little bit confused is because it's a sorcery, and usually that's kind of like, sorceries are kind of just like, boom, I do this thing, and then it goes to my graveyard. So it's one of those things. Is it like I can cast it as a 0/4, and then other times I can just cast it as a sorcery and just use that ability and then it's gone? Or does it play out as a creature and then I can pay its sorcery cost and use that ability? And then if so, is it stackable? Can I tap 4 and mill you for 20? Because it just sounds a little bit overpowered and kind of ridiculous. Or can I only use its ability once per turn, so I can only mill you for 4 once per turn? If anybody does understand exactly how this card works, please tell me down in the comments in detail as best you can, please. But overall, that's what this deck does. It's pretty amazing. It's insanely fun. I've been doing deck testing with it, and it plays super consistently, of course, with the help of the fact that there is 4 copies of each card, except for the ones that were a little bit less necessary. Like Drowned Secrets is basically just a really good extra card for just to keep the mill process going, because again, some of these are purely mill cards and then some of them are answer cards just to keep myself in the game and not have myself get overwhelmed, because it's not creature heavy, of course. So that's why you have things like Runaway Together, and Didn't Say Please is very helpful in that situation, and keeps myself from being overwhelmed while I can continue to put your cards into the graveyard. And the funny thing is, with the constant reuse of Into the Story because of Bond of Insight or Mystic Sanctuary, I end up milling myself a lot of the time, just pulling more answers and pulling more cards. But again, it's purely a solo deck test, so it will play very differently in an actual game. But I just wanted to give you guys an overall run through of what the deck can do. All right, if you enjoyed this breakdown video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and of course a thumbs down if you didn't, and tell me down in the comments why you didn't. And if you do have information on Merfolk Secret Keeper and about Runaway Together, just some insight on how exactly the cards work. For Runaway Together, it was in a solo scenario, how its ability exactly works, because it seems to talk more about a multiplayer situation. And about the Merfolk Secret Keeper's sorcerer ability, because I'm almost wondering if it's two different things, like it can be a creature or it can be a sorcery, but please update me on that in the comments, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day.